Good day, everyone. Today, we're going to have our final episode for this term with the title Heritage and Conservation. Today, we're stepping into a conversation that goes far beyond old buildings and historic sites. We're talking about the stories, identities, and memories embedded in the spaces we walk past every day, often without noticing. Heritage isn't just about preserving the past. It's about understanding who we are, what we value, and how we choose to shape our future. In a time where cities are racing to build higher and faster, the real challenge isn't just developing, it's knowing what's worth keeping, what deserves a second life, and how we can design in a way that honors our roots. Conservation is no longer just a technical practice, it's a cultural responsibility. As we celebrate the Philippine Architecture Festival, National Architecture Month, this special episode of the Maharlikan Forum will explore why protecting heritage matters, how architecture and interior design becomes a vessel for collective memory, and what it means to balance progress with preservation in a rapidly changing world. We'll talk about the myths, the debates, the pressures, and of course, the possibilities. If you've ever wondered how buildings tell stories, how identity shapes design, or how we can make old feel powerfully relevant again, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. This is the conversation you won't want to miss.
Welcome to the Maharlikan Forum.
Our special guest today is a specialist in the intersection of interior design and heritage. She is a UST-trained architect and researcher at the Research Center for Culture, Arts, and Humanities, or RCCAH, whose work centers on giving new life to historic spaces. With a doctorate in development studies and extensive experience in interior design, she has become a leading voice in adaptive reuse, creating the Socio-Cultural Sustainability Index to guide the curation of heritage interiors. Beyond her academic role at UST, she manages curatorial efforts for the Bahay Nakpil Bautista and is currently developing exhibits for the San Sebastian Basilica and the musical legacy of Julio Nakpil. Her upcoming publications will further explore her research on sustainable heritage preservation. She was recently elected as the Executive Director for Professional Practice and Ethics of the Philippine Institute of Interior Designers, Board of Trustees 2025 to 2027. We are honored to have you here in the Maharlikan Forum, interior designer Mary Ann Venturina-Bulanadi, PhD. Welcome!
Hello there.
Kamusta po si Dr. Bulanadi?
How are you, ma'am?
How are you po?
How have you been?
Kamusta po kayo these past few days po?
Well,
Ano po yung
especially
pinagkakaalabahan?
that you've been elected, sa professional practice, if I'm not mistaken.
It was just recent, nitong bandang November lang yun. And we are preparing for our oath-taking this coming February 20. Actually, we have done a lot already. We had finished our planning for the whole year. And I know that every one of us is aligned with the purpose of uplifting interior design in the Philippines. So, syempre, with my specialty in heritage, naka-involve talaga yung heritage dun sa mga plano namin. And I would also like to align with the United Archipelago in terms of education, educating the students, and also kung ano yung po pwedeng maitulong, especially communities.
Yeah. All right.
I'm also teaching in the University of Santo Tomas, College of Fine Arts and Design. So I've been teaching interior design, and my specialty is adaptive reuse. That's the course that I've been teaching, and exhibition design and research methodology. Also, I'm one of the researchers of the Research Center for Culture, Arts, and Humanities of UST. That's why yung mga about adaptive reuse, I've been writing it also and sharing it, most especially in magazines like magazine.
Very aligned po talaga ang research sa heritage conservation.
Yeah.
So, saktong-sakto yung track.
And thank you very much, UAP Maharlika chapter, for inviting me. I would really like to share and would like to help in terms of educating our students and also our fellow designers and architects. Salamat.
Alright, so the first question is, what ignites your interest in pursuing heritage and conservation?
My interest in heritage and conservation began at a very young age. Actually, bata pa talaga ako kasi I know I was shaped by the places I considered home. So, I grew up with old houses sa side ng father ko at side ng mother ko. So my father's side is there located in Esguerra, Tondo, Manila. It's a bahay na bato as well as the house of my mother in Santa Cruz, Sagunoy, Bulacan. It's also a bahay na bato. So these houses became more than just family properties. Sabi ko nga, they are spaces where memories were formed and stories were quietly preserved. And nung time na nakita ko nga or I was introduced to Bahay ng Pio Bautista in Quiapo, I saw I saw that they have similarities with the old houses that we have as a family. So hindi lang yung time na yon kasi I started serving Bahay Nakpil Bautista 15 years ago bilang curator. Pero I started going there college time pa lang because of a particular teacher in the University of Santo Tomas, Architect Norma Alarcon. So siya yung nagdala sa akin doon. Kasi researcher siya dati, so nagpupunta kami doon madalas. And yun nga, sabi ko, I vividly remember enjoying my visits sa mga bahay na luma, particularly the experience of sleeping in my old houses, yung old houses ng side ni Mommy tsaka side ni Daddy. I feel the sense of calm, warmth and familiarity that felt different from modern houses. Iba talaga di ba?
Yes. That we have to agree.
Di ba? The thick walls.
Yes.
Di ba? The wooden floors. And the generous spaces made me feel connected to the past, even if I did not fully understand it at the time, nung panahon na yon. Being in these heritage houses sparked my curiosity about the history of an old house, their design, and the lives of the generations once lived in there. Actually, ngayon, I have a lot of inquiries regarding turning the old houses into a museum. And yung inquiry nila, minsan sinasabi nila na wala silang budget. But I made sure that we talked about it because I would really like to help.
Yeah.
Nung sinabi niyo po yan, I just, because I'm also teaching. Currently, we have some students who are into, mostly adaptive reuse for their thesis. Now that you know, can I give your number?
Walang
Your
problema,
contact to
sir.
them?
Walang problema. I
Kasi,
would really like to help.
For me kasi, during our time in college, we also grew up with professors that are into heritage. Like we have two professors who are into that. Kaya nagkaroon kami during our college heritage conservation. Yung, what do you call this again? Specialization. So, yun lang yung pinuguhugutan ko. And of course, some books regarding conservation. What do you call this? Very particular yung vegan. I have a vegan book that has kung paano preserve, kung paano conserve. Yun ang meron kami. Kasi if I'm not, kwento lang po ito ng professor ko before na yung gumawa daw po ng book na yun ay dating estudyante ng architecture. Na naging mayor ng vegan.
Ayan.
Yes, kaya meron siyang ganoon.
Sino ba yan? Si Architect Medina?
Hindi po siya natuloy na mag-architect kasi ano na siya nag-serve na sa government. Yes. Yun po. Alright, so for our next question, why do you believe that heritage conservation still matters in a rapidly modernizing country like the Philippines?
So I believe that heritage conservation still matters in a rapidly modernizing country like ours, like the Philippines, because it keeps us grounded in who we are. As our cities grow old and change, our heritage reminds us of our roots. It also reminds us of our struggles. It also reminds us of the values that shape our communities. So without it, development can feel empty, modern, but disconnected from our identity as Filipinos, di ba?
Yes.
Yeah.
So heritage conservation also help us progress differently. It shows that moving forward doesn't always mean erasing the past.
Yes.
Please put that in mind. Old buildings, traditional practices, and historic spaces can still have a place in modern life, servicing as a reminder of resilience and continuity while adapting it to the present needs. So most importantly, conserving heritage gives meaning to development. It honors the stories of ordinary people, not just grand history, and allows future generations to understand where they came from. So in a fast-changing country like ours, the Philippines, heritage conservation matters because it helps ensure that progress remains human, that progress is inclusive, and that progress is deeply rooted in culture. Tama ba?
Yes.
Yes.
That we have to agree also. Like yung sa bahay na Phil is still there, na kahit na pinupuntahan talaga siya, gives that this is how we lived, this was designed during that time, and up until now, it lives up into it na bago na, yes. Pero the function, how it was designed, timeless siya.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, for the next question, what makes a building worth saving? What are the factors? Is it age, beauty, or stories it carries? Do you have a checklist to qualify as a heritage structure?
A building is worth saving, di ba? Not merely because it is old or beautiful. Hindi dahil dun But because of the meaning it holds. Age may contribute, yes, to the value, but it's never the sole measure. Hindi lang dahil luma ay importante na, or dahil luma ay ikikip mo siya, di ba? Some structure, though modest in appearance, carry powerful stories. The everyday life, the community struggles, or pivotal moments in history. So these narratives gives a place, cultural and emotional significance that cannot be replaced once lost. Beauty is subjective. What truly matters is authenticity and connection. A simple bahay na bato, a school, or even an old market can be worth preserving if people identify with it and considered it as part of their shared memory. So heritage is much about lived experience and collective memory as it is about architectural style. So while there is no formula, heritage conservation often uses a set of criteria, or we call it a checklist, to evaluate whether a structure merits preservation. At these are just common factors. Hindi ko sinasabing ito lang talaga, pero this can help. Okay, so number one, which is important, is the historical significance. Yung association with important events, with important people or the people that is within that particular period or that period itself. So that's what we call historical significance. Pangalawa, it could be cultural and social significance. So relevance to a community's identity, to the traditions or collective memory. Importante yan. And then, pangatlo could be architectural or artistic significance. Uniqueness of design, diba? Craftsmanship, or even the construction methods. Paano siya ginawa?
Yes.
Importante din yan. Kasi iba yung pagkakagawa dati.
Yes.
Iba
Kesa
yung
ngayon.
technologies natin.
Of course, you know that. Because
Yeah.
you're architects, diba?
Kaya, if I may lang, during the last last year na pala siya, we tried to change yung methods ng pag-research regarding heritage conserving. Ang nawawala kasi doon is the construction method. So we try to find the construction method kasi that is what one of the most important things. You want to preserve that. Wala na yung method. Possibly, namatay na yung method na yun. How are we going to bring it back? Para makita rin natin kung paano siya gawin. Or, ano yung alternative na pwede niyang gamitin.
Yeah. Yes.
Yung iba kasi, they want to keep the authenticity ng place. So, ano yung methods na pwede natin gawin? Yun. So, yun yung nakita ko
Importante
dyan.
yan.
Yes.
Yan. Tapos, meron pa tayong age and rarity. Whether the structure represents a disappearing era or building type. And then, importante din na integrity and authenticity.
Yes.
The degree to which the original materials, the design, and the character remain intact. Actually, nung pinag-aaralan namin yung bahay ng Phil Bautista, nagkaroon kami ng wood identification.
Wow.
Of course, with the guidance of Dr. Chick Fadriquela. He's the only person I know who does this wood identification. Okay.
That's the first time I heard of that.
Ultimately, a building is worth saving when it tells a story that still resonates up to today. Heritage conservation is about choosing which stories to protect and pass on, especially in a world where rapid change can easily erase the past.
What challenges do you commonly face in conservation projects? Siyempre, minsan yung budget.
Yeah, yes. One of the most common challenges I see in conservation projects is balancing preservation and development. This is often pressure to modernize quickly, and heritage buildings are sometimes viewed as obstacles rather than assets. Convincing stakeholders that conservation can coexist with progress takes time. It also takes patience, and it also takes a lot of advocacy. So, another challenge, ito yung pinaka-challenge talaga, is limited funding and resources. Ito nga yung budget na sinasabi natin. Conservation work is, of course, expensive, and it requires skilled labor. It requires proper materials and long-term maintenance. In many cases, there is also a lack of technical expertise.
Yes.
Diba? Or clear guidelines which makes restoration efforts inconsistent and at times rushed. Isa pa ay ang community awareness. It's another issue. Like for example, there in Bahay ng Phil Bautista, although alam ko aware naman sila, kaya lang minsan parang they don't appreciate kung ano yung ginagawa. Parang nagtataka sila, ano naman kaya ginagawa nila to?
Gimmick lang.
Yeah, pero I know na ngayon na madami na mga activity at saka nanggagaling pa sa government yung activity, in a way, they are aware already. Pero sa ibang heritage houses, baka ito nga yung problema. So yun nga, sabi ko nga, some people do not immediately see the value of conserving old structures especially if they associate them with decay or inconvenience. So without strong community support, conservation efforts can feel fragile or easily overtuned. And lastly, navigating policies and bureaucracy can be difficult. Overlapping regulations, unclear heritage listings, or even weak enforcement often slow projects down. Minsan hindi natin naiintindihan kasi kung ano-ano itong mga to. So despite these challenges, I believe conservation remains important because every effort, even small ones, helps protect stories that might otherwise be lost. So ang ano ko naman, ang suggestion ko naman, mas dapat marami pang awareness about the policies para mas maintindihan. It could be in school or even parang i-lecture dun sa mga stakeholders ng community at nung may mga may-ari ng old houses.
Siguro isa sa mga ano rin, no? Maybe we can get examples from other heritage communities or developments. Like for a good example, again, is vegan. Intramuros, so there's some portions of it. Quiapo is I think Santa Ana is also kasi I'm near Santa Ana.
My mother...
your mother's from Santa Ana,
yes,
Manila? There you go.
Laking Quiapo si mamay.
Alright, so Santa Ana, they have this community. Kaya mostly ng mga development doon is somehow into kung ano yung itsura before. Kahit sabihin natin facade lang siya. Ini-incorporate pa rin nila. Maybe it's another good example would be yung policies from there could be introduced sa
Could
mga
be shared.
to be shared sa mga lectures lalo sa mga students, at least they get to they have to get the grasp kung okay, so ganito pala dapat ang mga ginagawa natin. Yung gano'n. Right, so for the fifth one.
Okay, what's one heritage-related issue you believe we should urgently address? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, that's an interesting question na dapat din nating ma-share or para mabigyan ng solution. So, one heritage-related issue is the lack of adequate and sustained funding. Ito nga, yung kanina, for heritage conservation, which I said na malaking problema nga. So budget constraints are often the main reason why heritage structures are neglected, improperly maintained, or even lost. So without sufficient financial support, conservation efforts remain reactive rather than preventive, only intervening when buildings are already severely deteriorated. So in many cases, heritage structures or buildings are seen as costly liabilities instead of valuable cultural assets. Because of limited budget, owners and local governments struggle to prioritize conservation over immediate economic needs, leading to demolition, leading to inappropriate renovations, or even leading to abandonment. This not only results in the physical loss of heritage structures, but also in the erasure of cultural memory and identity that is tied to these places. So addressing these issues requires recognizing heritage conservation as an investment rather than as an expense.
Okay. Follow-up question. Do you think old buildings should be saved only adaptively or there is more methods?
Meron kasing tatlong according to Wong 2016, ito yung palagi ko nile-lecture sa estudyante ko. Old buildings can either be preserved.
Yeah.
Pag sinabi mong preserved, What do you mean by preservation? So parang as is
As
lang
is,
siya.
yes.
Diba? Yung kung ano yung gamit niya dati, ganun
Yun na yung
pa
as
rin.
is.
Okay. It's either preserved. Number 2, it could either be demolished.
Restore.
So pag demolished, ano ibig sabihin ng demolition?
Tanggal.
Tanggal. Gigibain. Ah.
Sige.
Demolish.
Demolish. Can either be demolished.
Can either be demolished. So ibig sabihin nun, anong ibig sabihin nun? Di talagang tatanggalin,
Yeah.
bubuwagin from ground up.
Yes.
And of course, the best solution that I always say is it should be adaptively reused.
Yeah, yes.
Pag sinabi mo adaptive reuse, win-win yan.
Yes.
Diba? Kasi, but win-win. But win-win yung sinasabi ko.
Kasi you get to preserve yung mismong building natin.
Oo.
And
It calls
papasok ngayon yung income na sinasabi.
Yes, that's right. That's why adaptive reuse is the best solution.
Nasaan nga ba yung ano natin nung nakaraan sa nakalimutan ko bigla yung event natin sa pumunta tayo sa mga heritage. Karamihan doon, nag-adaptive reuse sila. Ginawa nilang if not a museum, ginagawa nilang stay-in
Stay in.
Yeah.
or restaurant.
Restaurant.
Yes. Kasi pwede kapag nag-in siya, constant yung pasok ng tao and you get again preserve.
Yes.
Tsaka may ROI.
Yes. Yun yung malaking bagay.
Oo. Yan. Kung problema nga budget, di ba?
Oh yes.
Yung mostly old houses become coffee shops right now.
Madami. Sa may Quezon City. Dito, di ba?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can see it in Maginhawa Street and even in yung mga scout areas, di ba? Ng
Yes.
Quezon City. Madami din sa Manila na ganun. Yeah.
I don't know kung tama ba yung if you remember, I think meron pa po atang isa, yung isa po ata ay restore.
Restore.
Kapag nasira siya, it's either we restore it as kung ano yung dati, materials, or we upgrade it pero
Yeah.
ganun yung
Adaptive reuse is a form of
Like
restoration.
what happened to
yeah.
Manila Post Office na nasunog. Parang somehow it was restored kasi nga na-damage siya.
Ni-restore na ba siya? O
Parang hindi.
Ay, hindi pa.
pininturahan lang yata yun. Pininturahan pa lang.
Pininturahan pa lang.
But I think they are thinking of adaptively reusing the space. But there is no, ano pa.
Isa sa mga tumatak sa akin when it comes to restore ay ayuntamiento.
Yes.
Because my previous work was just across ayuntamiento and my former boss was the PM of that one. So medyo sa history, it was restored kasi it was destroyed during World War II. Then it was restored to be now as a treasury. Yan. Though they change pagdating sa loob, nag-modernize siya. Pero may museum siya dun sa ilalim.
That's good.
Okay, for the next question, how do we handle heritage sites associated with painful or controversial history? Yeah, some buildings have that.
Okay, so
Lalo na sa gantong era na na-elect si ganto, ganon. Connected yung politics somehow.
nung nabasa ko yung questions, sabi ko, I haven't yet worked directly on heritage site associated with painful or controversial history. But I believe such places must be approached with exceptional care. Should be approached with respect, yan, importante, and it should be approached with responsibility. The first priority is to acknowledge the full historical context rather than soften, erase, or selectively present it. I would support a process that involves thorough research. Diba? Dapat. Consultation with historians, consultations with community stakeholders, and, where appropriate, the descendant or affected groups of that particularly painful or the one that has a controversial history. So the goal would be to preserve the site in a way that encourages reflection, in a way that encourages education. And it could be in a way of dialogue, allowing the space to communicate its history honestly while remaining respectful to those connected to it. So in this way, heritage conservation becomes not just about preserving physical structures, but about safeguarding memories, about fostering understanding, and about contributing to collective healing, di ba? Yun yung importante. Magkaroon ng collective healing after the painful history that happened to that particular area. Nandun na tayo sa era na dapat merong healing.
Yeah, agree. Alright, so for our 7th question, how do you deal with clients who prefer demolition over restoration?
Again, this particular question is sort of alien to me kasi my clients usually come to me with a clear understanding of the value of restoration already. So, nakakatawa na kahit wala silang budget, madalas, pero ang isipan nila ay restoration. And kasi this period,
Sorry po, may nagpuputo po sa labas. May nagpuputo ko chita po.
gusto ko yan, yung pumupot-pot. Kahit wala silang budget, clear sa kanila yung value ng restoration. So, they come to me already that it is in their mind. Nakakatawa nga kahit younger generations ngayon are aware. Kasi because of social media naman siguro, kaya ganun. So, they prefer talaga restoration over demolition. That said, if I were faced with a client leaning towards demolition, siguro my approach will be first to understand why. Whether it's cost, baka naiisip nila yung gastos, o kaya naiisip nila yung timeline, yung baka matagal, sabihin nila, baka matagal yung yung pag-adaptive reuse nyo or restoration. Or my approach would be also to think na baka they have this particular lack of confidence in the existing structure. Natatakot sila baka mamaya bigla na lang bumagsak kasi alam nila matanda na. So I then walk with them through restoration options. Nandun pa rin ako. Outlining the long-term value, sasabihin ko yan. Sabihin ko rin yung sustainability benefits and potential costs, efficiencies were applicable. Ultimately, I respect that it's the client's decision as always, di ba? Nandun pa rin tayo eh. Kasi hindi naman tayo yung may-ari.
Yeah, sa kanila yun.
But I see my role as ensuring they're fully informed and have considered restoration as a viable, as a responsible alternative before moving forward.
At least give them that option na, here's the data of doing this and that.
Yeah.
At least, baka hindi nila nakikita yun muna. But after thorough research and such, baka yun, okay na.
Hindi pa sila enlightened.
Then again, sabi naman kanina, client pa rin naman masusunod. Alright, so for the third question on the house is, how do you implement sustainability or save heritage buildings while not compromising its richness in tectonics, the memories and involvement of its history to the architecture?
For me, sustainability in heritage buildings begins with respect. Respect for the structure, respect for its tectonics, and respect for the layers of memory embedded in it. I don't see sustainability and heritage conservation as opposing goals. It's not.
Yes.
I see them as complementary. My approach is to work with the existing building, kung ano yung details na meron sila, rather than against it. Understanding how it was originally constructed. Kaya it entails research and really inspection. Diba? How it has aged and what are the stories it carries. One time nga when I was doing my dissertation, one of the things that I really research on are the activities from a particular year to the present year. So pinag-aralan ko mabuti yan. So doon natin nakikita ko ano yung mga stories na nangyari sa bahay ng Pil. So any sustainable intervention I would introduce, whether material reuse, whether passive environmental strategies, a discrete upgrades, would be carefully integrated so it supports the building's performance without overpowering its character. I believe the most responsible form of sustainability is extending the life of the structure or the building while preserving the craftsmanship, the spatial qualities, and the historical narrative that give it meaning. In that particular way, sustainability becomes not just a technical solution. So it is a continuation of the building story.
Alright, with regards to this, yung sustainability and heritage conservation, we had this previous episode with regards to preservation. Not preservation, but green architecture. It is also she also stated that one of the best way for green building is adaptive reuse. Because it's already there. Wala ka na,
Yes.
you just have to improve on it.
Yes.
So, kung yun nga, dadagdag ka lang ng pero konting lang ang gagalawin mo.
Yeah, I agree to that.
So, mababawasan yung tinatawag natin carbon footprint and such. And yung mga structures before, it was built in accordance dun sa ating tropical climate.
Yes.
So, kung nag-aayon siya.
Oh, I
Yeah,
remember
it saves
one time na
materials.
Metropolitan
Yeah.
Theater was being restored. We also get the consultation from a green architecture. So meron din portion yung green architecture.
Yes.
Architect Louis Dai.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
From our chapter as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, may checklist nga siya. May checklist yun kapag mataas ang, if I'm not mistaken, mataas ang percentage if you're going for adaptive reuse. Alright, so next question.
Okay, for our next question, how do you decide if a building is worth preserving?
Okay, in my practice, the question of whether a building is worth preserving is often already framed by the client, di ba? Yung kaninang sinabi ko at na-mention ko. As many of my projects came from clients who actively seek preservation or adaptive reuse solutions already. That said, I still approach each building with a critical and reflective mindset. I look at its architectural and tectonic value, the integrity of its material and construction, and the stories and memories attached to it, both the tangible and the intangible. I also consider how the building relates to its context and whether it can continue to serve a meaningful purpose as of today. Dapat ganun di ba? Dapat makikita mo, pag-aaralan mo, ano ba yung magiging magandang purpose nitong building na to for this particular, for this contemporary time. So even when the decision isn't mine to make, I see my role as helping articulate why
Mm.
a building matters and how its preservation can add cultural, environmental, and social value. So in that way, preservation becomes a considered choice grounded in understanding, not just sentiment. Hindi lang puro emosyon.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting na isa sa mga frontrunner ng heritage and conservation ay isang interior design. So parang iba yung perspective Parang hindi siya through the facade lang. Parang from the inside out yung perspective. Okay. For the next question, how can designers counter the mindset that preserving is more expensive than building new?
Yan. I often find that the belief that preservation is more expensive comes from a very narrow understanding of cost. Yun di ba? From my perspective, my role as a designer is to help shift that mindset. Not just a designer pala, but one who is into heritage. From short-term expenditure to long-term value. I do this by reframing preservation not as an added burden, but as an opportunity. An opportunity to retain embodied energy,
Yes.
an opportunity to reduce material waste, and an opportunity to build on the cultural and spatial qualities that already exist. Because many of my clients come to me already seeking these solutions. My focus is on reinforcing that shift through careful, intentional design. Intervening only where necessary, reusing materials thoughtfully, and making the existing structure work harder rather than replacing it. For me, preservation is not about nostalgia or excess spending. It is about making informed, making responsible choices that respect both resources and history. So when framed this way, preservation becomes an investment in continuity rather than a cost. Tama ba?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually,
Tama ba?
may ganyang mindset hindi lang sa preservation pero ganoon din sa green architecture. Laging tingin, mahal yan. Parang yun ang I think
ang
it's
myth ng sustainability is expensive.
oo. Pero
Kasi may added cost.
yes, but if you look at it, it's just really a change in mindset.
Yeah. Changing mindset.
Alright, so for our last question on how is, how do you respond to the idea that not everything old is worth saving?
I agree that not everything old is automatically worth saving kahit sa tao. And I think it's important to be honest about that.
Yeah.
Age alone doesn't create value.
Mm.
For me, what matters is understanding why a building exists and why it contributes architecturally, why it contributes culturally, why it contributes socially or even emotionally to its context. In my work, many projects are already guided by clients who value preservation. And I'm very blessed about it kasi sa kanila na nanggagaling yung value. Like, I have a client who is a younger generation and gustong-gusto niya yung idea of adaptive reuse. So, sabi ko, nakakatuwa, di ba? Naiintindihan nila kagad. But I still approach its building critically, looking at its tectonic quality, adaptability, and the memories embedded in it. So preservation to me is not about freezing everything in time. Hindi naman ganon, di ba?
Yes.
Yung bang parang gusto mo na naka-freeze lang siya na ganyan lang ang nangyari dati, dapat ganun pa rin. We have to think that we are already in this time.
Yes.
Diba? So, it's about recognizing what has meaning and potential and allowing it to evolve thoughtfully. So when that evaluation is done carefully, saving something old becomes a deliberate choice rather than a default reaction.
Why are many heritage structures still not legally protected despite their historical significance? I remember so many buildings about that. Especially Makati.
Okay, from my perspective, many historically significant structures remain unprotected not because they lack value, but because protection systems often lag behind awareness. Legal recognition usually depends on formal documentation, political will,
Yes.
funding, and public advocacy, and many buildings fall through the gaps, especially those tied to everyday histories rather than monumental events. I also think that changing urban pressures and economic priorities can overshadow cultural significance. In my work, since many clients already come to me seeking preservation, I see how awareness often begins at at an individual level before it becomes institutional. So this has made me more conscious of the role designers play, not just in designing the interiors, but in identifying, articulating, and communicating their value. Sometimes protection starts long before the law catches up.
Okay, next question. Why do we overlook vernacular wisdom that was designed appropriately for our tropical climate?
I think we often overlook vernacular wisdom because it's so familiar that it becomes invisible. Many traditional responses to our tropical climate were developed through generations of life experience using local materials and passive strategies that work naturally with heat, with humidity, and with rainfall. Tapos ngayon nga, di ba, may climate change tayo. Yet, in contemporary practice, these approaches are sometimes dismissed as outdated already or informal in favor of imported models that don't always suit our context. Diba? From my perspective, this disconnect comes from equating progress with newness. In my work, especially with projects that already value existing structures, I'm reminded that vernacular architecture holds practical intelligence as well as cultural memory. So re-engaging with it isn't about romanticizing the past,
Yes.
but about relearning climate responsive strategies that are still relevant for today. For me, acknowledging vernacular wisdom is a way of designing more responsibly and more honestly within our environment. Diba?
This I have to agree, no? Especially during our stay in architecture. History of architecture. always. What are the influences in for designing? Usually, number one dyan, climate. Yeah, during our journey sa history of architecture, ano ba yung mga structures sa mga lugar na yun? And how do they respond to it? And even to us, Filipinos, if you look our pre-colonial, actually kahit yung colonial naman natin, it responded well for tropical.
Yes.
Like, the Bahay Mestiza is a very good example.
Yes.
Long eaves, large windows for air to come in. Halos lahat ng ng ventilation meron. May cross tayo, may venturi effect tayo.
May barandiles pa.
May yeah, exactly. So, since tropical, very important sa atin ang passive cooling.
Yes.
Also here's sa ibang architecture vloggers na yung coming from international that visits yung ating Filipino architecture, nakita nila importance ng yung ating vernacular.
Yes.
No? Like yung mga, kahit yung high-rise ginagawa nila hindi siya sagad dun sa it's deep para hindi basta-basta pumapasok yung light. Kumbaga,
Yes.
nababawasan yung init. Yan. So, yun lang yung ko dito. So, always...
Yung somehow influenced din by Western So parang dun din tayo na o-overlook. Kasi ang thinking natin kapag pag engaging with how to cool the building, artificial ventilation agad. Hindi natin na-analyze kung ano ba talaga yung need natin for our climate, which is
Yeah.
tropical architecture.
Yeah. All right. So, for our next question, for our why is, why do Filipinos often rediscover the value of heritage only after the structure is destroyed?
Okay, madalas
Para
naman.
din sa tao din.
Oo. Madalas nangyayari naman yung ganyan. And I think this happens because heritage is often invisible in everyday life. Diba? We live alongside with these buildings without fully noticing yung mga stories behind the buildings, craftsmanship, minsan yung mga detalye, hindi naman natin nakikita. And the history, syempre, hindi mo naman alam madalas yung history. Kaya nga yung mga nagpapagawa ng yung mga project na adaptive reuse, ang call ko dyan, which I also wrote in Blueprint magazine, is that they should be putting a small corner wherein they put the history of that particular building so that alam din ng mga tao. Okay? Yan. So, yon. From my perspective, there's also a tendency to equate progress with newness. So older structures are undervalued until their loss creates a tangible absence. Madaming ganyan, di ba?
Yes.
Ano yung mga alam nyong building na nawala na...
Film life.
Of course, yeah.
The high alay.
Dahil, sige. At marami pang iba.
Yes.
So in my experience, working with clients who already seek preservation has made me more aware of this pattern. People often only appreciate the significance of heritage when faced with the reality of its disappearance. Personally, this motivates me to advocate for awareness early on through careful design, through storytelling, and by highlighting how heritage be bought. Okay, nawala. Wala ako. Ulitin ko. Personally, this motivates me to advocate for awareness early on through careful design, storytelling, educating. So what I did is I give talks to interior design students, to architecture students. Nung pandemic, all over the country kasi nga online.
Yeah.
Diba? Tapos after pandemic, I've been invited to schools. Pumupunta ako so as far as Lipa. I went to the National University of Lipa, and even in Pampanga I went there. So by highlighting how heritage can be both functional and meaningful today, so that its value is recognized before it's too late. So yun yung naging share ko. really promoting, advocating. Like now, I'm very thankful to UAP for giving me this chance to share what I can share about the works that I'm doing.
Thank you, ma'am. Alright, so
Pause lang. Pwede po bang pasabi po para po specific UAP
UAP, Manila Maharlika chapter.
Sige. So, sakto ulitin.
Apo. Doon po sa may
Yes.
thankful na na-invite
yeah.
UAP Manila Maharlika.
Actually, I'm so thankful that I was invited by UAP Manila Maharlika chapter in this particular podcast so that I will be able to share what I've been doing and advocating about adaptive reuse. Maraming salamat. Maraming salamat.
Thank you for gracing us, ma'am.
And any help that I can give, since like what I've said, I am with PIID, so we can collaborate.
Yes,
Yes.
manifest that.
Alright, so for our next question is, why do you think some people see heritage as a barrier to progress?
From my experience, I think some people see heritage as a barrier to progress because it can feel restrictive. Or minsan sabi nila, costly daw. Sabi nila, mas madali pa yatang magpatibag. You know what tibag is?
Yes.
Debug is
Demolish.
demolishing, di ba? Sabi nila yon, it's costly daw than having it demolished compared to starting fresh.
Yes.
But preservation requires careful planning, di ba? Respect for existing structures, and sometimes comprises on scale, on materials, or design, which can seem like obstacles when the focus is on speed or immediate economic gain. Personally, I see it differently. Heritage is not a hindrance, but a resource. Again, heritage is not a hindrance, but a resource. The challenge is helping people recognize that retaining and adapting existing buildings can actually enrich progress. Naniniwala ba kayo dun?
Actually.
By keeping cultural identity, sustainability, and craftsmanship alive.
Maybe not backwards, but other way around. Iba't iba kasi yung direction, not totally kapag when you say art, when you say heritage and conservation, since na past yun, going backwards, hindi. There are so many directions for that.
It's a progress. It's
Yeah.
going forward.
It's going forward.
Yeah, it's
So
going
rather
forward.
than slowing it down.
Mm.
In my work, even when clients come with preservation in mind already, I try to show that integrating heritage thoughtfully often leads to more meaningful, resilient, and more innovative outcomes.
Alright, so for our last question for Y is, what's the most meaningful lesson conservation work has taught you?
The most meaningful lesson conservation work has taught me is patience.
Oh, I agree.
Patience
Yeah.
talaga. Unlike new construction, working with heritage building demands slowing down
Yes.
because of research,
Yes.
diba? At marami pang inquiry
Yes.
to truly understand them, the materials, the original craftsmanship, kasi minsan hihinto ka rin eh. Like for
Yes.
example, the one that I did, yung nagpapa-as-built plan ako, tsaka I really talked to the stakeholders. So patience talaga. Minsan, may mga kausap ka pa na pag-aantayin ka.
Yes, that is true.
And you really need, yan talagang kasama, patience.
Yes.
and the stories they carry. So even small decisions can have a lasting impact. So every step requires care and reflection palagi. So over time, I've learned that patience isn't just about waiting. It's about developing a deep respect for the building's history,
Yes.
for the people who created it,
Yes.
for the legacy it will leave for the future. Conservation has taught me that meaningful work comes from the thoughtful, from the deliberate action rather than speed, and that allowing time, both the process and for reflection, ultimately leads to outcomes that honor both the past and the future. So dapat meron kayo nun.
Yes.
As we wrap up and talk about the things that you have said, nandun yung appreciation, the challenges of convincing clients, the budget, and the significance of the heritage and conservation to our society. My takeaway is what you have said is we need patience for that. And if I were specializing myself as an architect to take the heritage and conservation, there will be an uncertainty for me about these buildings. But I am so concerned about them. Yeah, somehow caring, to love a building, you should have empathy and concern above all things. And like what you have said, it needs a thorough research and an understanding about the buildings, why they are exist, and their purpose in our society, especially in our historic country like the Philippines. Yeah, it's about patience for me. Yeah, I agree what you have said. The key takeaway that resonates me for this podcast.
All right, so on my end, actually, nasabi ko na rin ito kanina kayo, ma'am, it's heritage is not a hindrance, but a resource. For the resource part, I think it's the knowledge that the buildings that has been there from way back, and how significant those lectures or kung ano man yun doon, even the stories, the building materials, the construction itself, how it came to be, those lessons na nadadala natin hanggang ngayon. I think yun yung it's more of the knowledge, the history of it, and how significant that is up until now, even in how we design. Passive cooling, like in my previous lectures then sa school, these things are done way before. Nawala lang, it's because of pumasok yung mga gantong mga style,
Yes.
ganoon. Kaya medyo nawala. Well, not nawala naman, pero na-set aside.
Set aside.
But now with this climate change,
Yes.
we are going back na, wait, nagawa na nila to dati. Bakit di natin gawin ulit? Kasi it's already been proven right? So, having them, yung mga heritage structures na yan, still there for us to experience it, na, okay, so, totoo nga talaga, na gumana noon. Gawin natin ulit. That is my key takeaway from this one. Alright, ma'am. How about you?
Okay, so thank you very much for your inputs. What can I... Wait. Okay. So, working with heritage has shown me that buildings are more than bricks and mortar. Hindi lang sila yon. Hindi lang sila yung nakikita natin physically. They are vessels of memory,
Yes.
of craftsmanship, and of culture. So preserving them has taught me patience, has taught me to slow down, and has taught me to listen and to truly understand the stories they carry. I've learned that meaningful design isn't about creating something new
Yes.
at any cost, but about weaving the past into the future with care and mostly with respect. So every careful intervention, every thoughtful decision is a way of honoring what came before while shaping what will come next or the future. To me, conservation is a reminder that progress and preservation are not opposites. They are partners, hindi sila magkaaway. And when we embrace both, we create work that truly endures, inspires, and connects generations. Sabi nga, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. Thank you. Maraming salamat. UAP Manila Mahardika Chapter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Right, ma'am, again, thank you very much for gracing us
Thank you, ma'am.
for this podcast. For our simple token of appreciation, we would like to give you our merch. So, first po ay mug ng Maharlikan Forum. Bago po yan. And also have pen and notebook po.
Okay. Maraming
Thank you
salamat.
po.
UAP Manila Mahardika Chapter.
Thank you very much,
Thank
ma'am.
you very
Your insights
Yeah.
are very helpful for us. A different perspective when it comes
Yes.
to heritage conservation.
We
Thank you
learned
very
a lot
much.
from you, ma'am.
Salamat.
Alright, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And would like to thank our dear sponsors. Flash na lang po. And thank you very much once again for our first season of the Maharlikan Forum. Again, I'm one of your hosts. I'm Architect Mon Jekris Serviño, the Chapter President of UAP Manila Maharlika Chapter for 2025 to 2026.
And I'm Architect Aldrich John Pascua, the AVP for programs for 2025 and 2026.
And of course, do not forget our technical team. Of course, I have yes. You have to. You have to.
Kami po yan.
State your name.
Hi, my name is Architect Crazel Marusca Morales Valdez, UAP Chapter Secretary, fiscal year 2025 to 2026. Thank you for supporting our podcast.
And our director, our
I am your director, your cameraman, your editor, and I am your current assistant chapter secretary for the fiscal year 2025-2026. My name is Sean Dagle.
and we are officially signing off for this season. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you so much. All right.
Picture.
Picture.
Welcome to the Maharlikan Forum.